We're being overrun. We have to get off of this hill.
That's one of our 50 cows still firing, Cole. The 22nd are still fighting.
It's over, Cole. Looks like you're one of the lucky ones.
Say goodbye to your friend Hank, Jack.
He was your friend too, Cole. Is this how you're going to leave him? Are you wounded?
Not a scratch, Kelso.
Well, get up and get out of that fucking hole! Find a stretcher while you're at it so we can get him out of here.
Who's the senior officer here?
I guess that's you, Cole.
You were up here all night?
Yes, sir.
And your command?
Gone, sir.
Sorry to hear that, son. But God damn it, we have beaten these bastards back. It's the beginning of the end, and it was one here. You're a goddamn hero, son. What's your name?
Lieutenant Phelps, sir.
I'm recommending you for the Silver Star, and promoting you to First Lieutenant.
So that's how Cole won the Silver Star. The Silver Star that everyone can't stop talking about. The one they all remind him he earned. The Silver Star he doesn't feel he deserves.
Mr. Kelso?
That's what the sign on the door says, miss.
She hands him the letter we saw her receive in our last episode. California Fire and Life, September 23rd, 1947. Dear Miss Lichtman, pertaining to the matter of policy number 1190165 and the sudden death of Mr. Louis Jan Bulkwater, I am writing to inform you that you have been named as sole beneficiary of Mr. Bulkwater's estate. Please find attached a settlement check for $20,000, the maximum payable amount in accordance with Clause 4A of the Life Care Disability and Accidental Death Policy which Mr. Bulkwater held. If you wish to dispute the settlement, you may contact our account management office by return mail or by phone during office hours. With condolences, Clarence W. Fleming, Claims Assessor, California Fire and Life Insurance.
There's no need to come into the office, Miss Lichtman. If you accept the settlement, all you need to do is sign here.
I don't accept the
What
settlement.
do you mean you don't accept? I think you're pushing your luck, lady. This seems to be a ridiculously generous settlement. A $200 policy with a $20,000 payout? You should...
I don't want the money.
What do you mean you don't want the money?
I want you to investigate this case. I feel my friend may have been the victim of foul play.
Okay. Let me get the case file.
Remember, after Cole and Biggs talked with Leland Monroe, they were warned off of pursuing this case by the captain himself. Cole needs an investigator who's not part of the LAPD. Cole needs Jack Kelso, but Kelso hates Cole. And so Cole sent Elza to Jack for help, with hopes that Jack would investigate, without knowing that he's really helping Cole.
There's got to be more in these files.
Jack opens up the case file. On the left fold, we find a blueprint of the property, and to the right, we find the pink slip property details. California Fire and Life 280347, Normandy Avenue Subdivision, Elysian Fields Development. Independent valuation, February 23rd, 1947 for $3,500. Against loss or damage not exceeding $900. On the next page, regarding policy number 1190165-9, while in the employ of Elysian Fields Development, Louis Jan Bulkwater was killed when the roof of the property on which he was working collapsed. On Tuesday, the 28th of January, at approximately 8:30 in the morning, Mr. Bulkwater was ascending the roof structure of a property at the Normandy Avenue development when a fault in the ridge beam caused it to sag. Witnesses report that Mr. Bulkwater slipped and attempted to right himself by holding onto a ceiling rafter, but the rafter broke. Mr. Bulkwater fell approximately 23 feet to the ground. His falling weight caused several ceiling joists to snap, and these fell inward along with part of the prefabricated roof truss. This comes as no surprise to Cole. Cole and Biggs have already discovered that Elysian Fields was cutting corners in the construction of their homes. They already know that they used faulty masonry and didn't even use wall ties to connect the bricks to the frame. But there may be more here, and that's why Cole needs Kelso. An autopsy later revealed that Mr. Bulkwater's cranium was shattered, probably when he struck his head on one of the roof beams. He sustained significant internal injuries as a result of the falling timber and died of internal hemorrhage approximately 10 minutes after the initial roof collapse. Independent testing of the ridge beam and roof truss has determined that faults in the timber were undetectable prior to installation. Witnesses report that Mr. Bulkwater was following all safety procedures. It is the opinion of this investigator that the death of Louis Jan Bulkwater constitutes a genuine and unavoidable industrial accident, and no fault can be ascribed to Elysian Fields developments. The insurance benefits associated with this policy should be paid in full to the designated beneficiaries.
Sounds like your friend took a hell of a fall. I'm sorry for your loss.
Timothy Lee, Senior Claims Investigator.
Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions?
Of course not.
With Cole out of the picture, we now have to conduct the investigation as Jack Kelso. And so we'll have Jack start by asking Elsa why she wants to dispute the payout.
What basis do you have for your claim of foul play?
Lou Buckwalter was a craftsman. I don't believe he would have made a roof that would collapse.
Does she feel that the insurance report somehow made Lou's accident his own fault? Reading her facial expressions, she's not giving much away. She's cool, calm, and confident. And yet, if we watch carefully, every now and then she looks off to the side, almost as if to see if anyone's coming around the corner. She's also leaning forward, as if she's trying to get closer to Jack to see if he's figured her out yet. This might be enough to tell Jack that Elsa's holding something back. But of course, as the player, we know that she's not being forthright with Kelso. She hasn't told Jack that she's here on the behalf of Cole Phelps. So either as Jack Kelso because he doesn't trust her eyes, or as the player because we know she's not being forthright, we'll doubt that she's telling the complete truth.
You want me to reopen this case based on your woman's intuition? That isn't going to happen. Take the money.
I've already told you I do not want the money. There's something wrong with that house.
And she is determined to have her way. Next, we'll have Jack ask her about her personal connection with Bulkwater.
You and Buckwalter weren't married?
No,
Then how did you become his beneficiary?
we were family friends.
Ooh, that hesitation right before family friends. What was that about? What about their relationship is she uncomfortable talking about? They may not have been married, but we remember from past events that his death hurt her horribly. The very first time we met her, when Roy first introduced Cole, we found her crying in her dressing room, having just received a letter.
He was my only real friend, Harlan. We went through it all. Do you realize what he meant to me?
Of course I do.
You have no idea. You said it was construction work.
It was an industrial accident, Elsa. How can I be held responsible?
Elsa, are you going on?
Louis, for God's sake, he was my best friend. The only man who ever loved me without putting his hands on me.
This must have been some family friend. But again, Elsa plays her cards close to her chest. The only thing giving away the turmoil inside of her are those eyes which briefly flit from side to side. Therefore, her same demeanor warrants the same line of inquiry. We'll again doubt her story.
You expect me to reopen this case because you come in here walking that walk? Well, I'm not buying it. I think you should tell me what the hell is going on.
You really want to know?
Yes.
We were interned together on Ellis Island. Resident alien Germans whose parents had been killed by Nazis. Do you see the irony in that, Mr. Kelso? We spent 4 years there.
Oh my God. She and Lou Bulkwater fled Germany during World War II because they were both German Jews. And upon arriving at Ellis Island, upon arriving in the land of freedom and opportunity, She and Lou were interred together because they were German. At last, the way she treats the police begins to make a bit more sense.
Hi, Elsa. Here's someone I'd like you to meet. Cole Phelps, war hero and crime fighter extraordinaire.
And why would I want to meet another fascist from the LAPD?
As does her reluctance to talk about Lou. Finally, we'll ask her about her motive for the dispute.
So the roof collapsed, accidents happen. What exactly are you trying to achieve here, Miss Lichtman?
Exactly what I said. I want that building thoroughly investigated.
She leans back in her chair, left arm resting on the chair, right arm resting on the desk. She's opening herself, as if she's laying all her cards on the table. She has nothing to hide. And here she makes direct and constant eye contact with Jack Kelso. Her motive isn't more money. She genuinely thinks there's foul play here, and all she wants is Kelso to investigate. She is telling the truth.
I'm intrigued, Miss Lichtman. I really am. But you're going to have to give me something if you want me to get involved in this.
There is a conspiracy surrounding Elysian Fields and the new houses they are building. I believe your insurance company is involved.
That's pretty heady stuff, Miss Lichtman. Flimsy, but heady.
I've told you what I know, Mr. Kelso. What are you going to do about it?
All right, Miss Lichtman. One final question.
Yes.
What's your address?
Is that usual?
Is there anything usual about this case, Miss Lichtman?
The address is on the letter, Mr. Kelso.
The address, not the phone number.
Oh, Kelso, y'all smoothie. She doesn't put up much of a protest. She saunters over and with a half smile, hands him her phone number. Walking that walk, indeed.
Mr. Benson would like to see you in his office, Jack. Upstairs. Come on, I'll walk you up.
That's very helpful. She'll walk us up. Before heading up, however, we need to pick up the address and telephone number that Elsa just gave us.
I'll be in touch.
6005 West Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood. Telephone MI 221. Now that Jack has her information, he can follow the secretary upstairs to his boss's office. We find him working hard, really earning that Christmas bonus.
Mr. Benson, you wanted to see me?
Ah, yes, Jack. I'm just trying out a new putter. I noticed Elsa Lichtman in the lobby.
It's the weirdest thing, Mr. Benson.
Call me Curtis, Jack. This is California.
Like I said, Curtis, this is a very strange case.
How so, Jack?
That lady, Elsa Lichtman, is refusing a 20 grand payout.
Elsa Lichtman is hardly a lady, Jack. She's a jazz musician. Plays at the Blue Room in Hollywood. She has a fine pair of lungs, now that I think of it.
She's the beneficiary of this guy, Lou Buckwalter. He was killed in an industrial accident working for Elysian Fields Developments. You know Elysian?
I'm familiar with Leland Monroe. We move in similar circles.
Well, Miss Lichtman is making some pretty serious accusations. She says the case stinks and that
She's a
something
very
happened.
highly strung girl, Jack. Strung out might be a better way to put it.
It's a pretty generous payment, Curtis. I think I should look into it.
Is there anything wrong with the paperwork, Kelso?
No, there isn't, Mr. Benson.
I didn't think so. Pay the case out and get her off our backs.
I can't make her take the money,
Deal
sir.
with it, Jack. Do your fucking job. Do I have to do everything?
No, sir, you don't.
Fine, Jack. Fine. You know I have the greatest confidence in you.
Thanks, Mr. Benson.
Whoa. First it's call me Curtis, then it's do your effing job. Knowing Jack Kelso as we've known him from the military flashbacks, there is nothing that makes this case more suspicious and therefore more alluring than Curtis's own behavior. Heading outside. Oh no, we don't have a driver. Thankfully, even though there's no partner to drive us, we can still skip all the driving. Jack just takes care of it himself. He arrives at the Elysian Field site at 11:20 a.m., the same site that Cole and Biggs visited in a previous case, but at the time, they didn't find anything. Let's see if Kelso can rustle something up. Heading inside, he finds a note on one of the nearby desks.
That's not how my pop taught me to mix it. Someone is cutting corners.
Walraven Hardware and Building Supply, Portland Cement, 2 tons, Base Building Sand, 8 tons, and Graded Aggregate, 16 tons. So they're cutting the cement with sand? And looking at the unit price, we instantly see why. They're only paying $14.50 for the sand, but $42 for the cement. And even worse, 16 tons of graded aggregate for $3.6? They're using cement for the foundations of these homes made mostly of sand and graded aggregate. The cement is just to kind of stick it all together. Ooh, that's not gonna hold up long, and Kelso knows it. Moving on to the next desk, we find a letter. Order of demolition.
Bulldozing and starting again.
The City of Los Angeles, pursuant to Section 191, Part 1, Subsection A of the California Building Code, hereby orders that any building work at the Normandy Avenue subdivision associated with the incident of January 28, 1947, be immediately demolished and all building material removed from the site. Notice date September 22nd, 1947. So after Lou Bulkwater died at the Normandy Avenue subdivision, the City of Los Angeles ordered that they demolish all buildings on the site. That must have been a heavy blow for Elysian Fields, but then again, they were insured, as Leland Monroe told us when Cole met him in our last episode. So California Fire and Life is going to have to pay out. Next to this, we find a note.
Leland Monroe, the man with the grin. Looks like he doesn't like to be disappointed.
Delays will not be tolerated. He drives them hard, this Leland Monroe. That must not put his workers in a very good mood, which we learn as we step outside.
Hey! You just can't be walking around down here.
I'm Jack Kelso, from California Fire and Life.
I don't care if you're from the Vatican. Buzz off!
I'm investigating the accidental death of a Lou Buckwalter, and...
You deaf? Do I have to beat on you?
Looks like you do.
The man is completely unreasonable. But he wasn't counting on the steel marine fist of Jack Kelso. He, like Cole, was trained to do this in the Marines.
I came to see the house where Lou Buckwalter died. You were just about to offer to show me the way.
It's out the gate and 3 houses down on the left. Don't know what you're looking for, smart guy. There's nothing there.
Then I'll poke around in the rubble.
Fine, as long as you're out of my sight.
With the war of words over, we can head towards the construction site. We see a number of houses still being constructed, and one completely demolished. This must have been where Lou died. We arrive at 11:37 a.m.
The place falls down, and then they bulldoze it. What gives here?
We see a few places marked off by red flags. Heading to the first one, we find some timber marked not for construction use. Whoops. That's a reason, if ever I've seen one, to want to bulldoze this evidence as fast as possible. At the next red marker, we find one brick. Again, that's shoddy masonry. At the next red marker, we find another piece of wood labeled not for construction use. And heading to the final marker at the back of the building, we find more pieces of splintered lumber.
Let's try to piece this together.
We have to find the correct piece to match it with the one on the left. And when we do...
Keystone Films. Who gets their lumber from a film studio?
So, Elysian Fields got their lumber from a film studio? Well, that would explain why it's all stamped not for construction use. The film studio used this timber for backdrops. Things seen in the background of films, things not designed to support weight. Why would they use this lumber for constructing real homes? The worker hops into a bulldozer and chases after Kelso. Murder on his mind. He corners Kelso into a ditch, forcing Kelso to leap over drainage pipe after drainage pipe. But the bulldozer is faster than Jack can run. Jack turns around every now and then to fire off a warning shot, forcing him to raise the bulldozer in hopes that we can slow him down. However, I found this method of surviving to be problematic. The way I got through it is to just run as fast as I can without even turning around.
Come on, Jack!
We leap into a gap, and if we come out on the other side, we survive. The bulldozer gets stuck. We can kill him here without repercussions.
Sorry, pal. Just when I thought we were starting to get on.
Or we can let him live. Either choice has no effect on the case. After the fade to black, we arrive at our car. We have a clue, the Keystone Film Studio, but we don't have an address. Thankfully, there's a Gamwell at a nearby street corner. Heading that way, we can call the operator for the address.
Jack Kelso, California Fire and Life investigator. I need an address on the Keystone Film Company.
The address is 658 North Wilton Place. Is there anything else?
No, thank you, ma'am.
With the address in hand, we can race back to the car and drive to the headquarters of the now defunct Keystone Film Studio. We learned that Keystone went defunct long ago in a previous case. We arrive at the Keystone Film Company at 11:57 a.m.
Hi, Mac. I work for California Fire and Life. I'm looking into an industrial accident.
Here?
No, not here. At a housing development over on Normandy Avenue.
So?
I found some lumber over there, had the Keystone name printed on it.
We've been closed since '41. Never quite made the transition to talkies. The Suburban Redevelopment Fund are pulling the place down.
Know anything about the Suburban Redevelopment Fund?
Nix.
Mind if I take a look around?
I'm kind of hungry. If someone was to leave a couple of bucks here, I might wander down the street and get a cup of coffee.
Is there a key to the gate?
No. The only guys who go in or out are some delivery guys from Elysian Fields. They're working on a housing development over at Wilton and Santa Monica. You'll have to hop it.
Ah, money. A language almost everyone can speak. But we just learned an important clue. The Suburban Redevelopment Fund is tearing down the Keystone Film Studio? Is that how they're getting the lumber? They're just taking it from this demolition site? Let's see if we can find any evidence of this. We see a doorway to the left, but before heading that way, if we turn right, we can pass a few of the Keystone Studio props. Heading around the horse, to the other side of this big concrete building, we see the Keystone Film Studio lumber all laid out, organized by size. On one of the big stacks, we find a receipt.
So this is where their lumber comes from?
And it's addressed to Elysian Fields. They were using eastern white pine, a softwood, selling the scrap for cheap to Elysian Fields. Heading to another stack, we find a notice.
That's one way to keep your costs down. Too bad it won't support a roof.
So Elsa was right. Lou was a craftsman, but he was forced to use lumber that was too weak to support the roof that he was told to build. All because Elysian Fields was trying to cut corners. With these two clues in hand, we can retrace our steps and finally go through that door. This leads to the screening room. Inside, we find a table to the right, and on it, a film reel.
Let's see what the rich and powerful have to say for themselves.
Suburban Redevelopment Fund. What is this, a film of some sort of meeting? Taking the film to the nearby projector. It's improperly calibrated. We've got to calibrate this so that it plays at the right speed. We fiddle with the knobs until we can understand the film.
In a great day for the future of Los Angeles, civic leaders and businessmen joined forces to launch the Suburban Redevelopment Fund. The Suburban Redevelopment Fund pledges to speed up housing development for returning GIs.
Gentlemen, this is Dr. Harlan Fontaine. He's our latest investor in the Suburban Redevelopment Fund. Doctor, this is Curtis Benson. He's Vice President of the California Fire and Life.
Pleased to meet you, Doctor.
Ray Gordon, editor of the Times.
Doctor.
District Attorney Donald Sandler and Police Chief Warren.
Gentlemen, I am delighted to be in such exalted company. You're making quite a name for yourself, Doctor, amongst the thespian fraternity. I find that those of artistic temperament are often of a fragile mental disposition.
It's a short step from miscreant to recidivism, Doctor.
Very true. But I think we could all agree that the City of Angels does rather well basking in the reflection of the motion picture industry.
Hear, hear. And it's something that every sucker getting off a train at Union Station wants a part of. Gentlemen, we're here to sell the American dream, and Hollywood is our greatest advertiser.
So, how is your new development selling, Leland?
Cannot throw them up fast enough, Ray.
And that's part of the problem, Leland. Washington is receiving steady complaints. There's a clamor for public housing.
God damn it, Ray. Public housing is tantamount to communism. Now, that's why we fought this goddamn war. I'm telling you, it's Reds via the back door.
You can't have it both ways, Leland. The new freeways are being built to service all your developments out in the boondocks. They're all being built with government money.
The GI Bill is government money.
There's a difference.
What difference?
The GI money ends up in my pocket.
I hope you mean our pockets, Leland. We're all investors.
Of course, Curtis. So, when will the freeway bond be passed on?
It still has to be ratified. It takes a long time to raise $3 billion.
I need to find a game well or a telephone.
The chief of police? The district attorney? Curtis, his own boss, the head of California Fire and Life, the editor of the Times? They're all investors on the Suburban Redevelopment Fund. No wonder Cole and Biggs were told not to pursue Leland Monroe. The chief of police is his friend and investor. Now Jack knows the truth, but who can he tell? Heading back to the security gate, we can head inside to use a phone.
Operator, can you put me through to police dispatch?
Putting you through now.
This is Jack Kelso, investigator for California Fire and Life. Can you put me through to Curtis Benson, please?
Just a moment, please, Mr. Kelso.
Jack, how can I help?
Do you know anything about the Suburban Redevelopment Fund, Mr. Benson?
I've heard of them, Jack. Building new homes for GIs.
With green lumber that was used on movie sets.
Jack, are you working the Buckwalter case?
Mr. Benson, are you part of the Suburban Redevelopment Fund?
Jack, I want you to listen very clearly. Call Miss Lickman. Call her as soon as you hang up. Arrange to see her tonight and get her to agree to the settlement. Do it tonight. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
End of story, Jack. I don't want to hear another word about Elsa Lickman or Lou Buckwalter.
Can you put me through to Michigan 221?
Putting the call through.
Hello?
Ms. Lichtman, it's Jack Kelso.
Yes, Mr. Kelso.
I've been looking into your case.
Yes, and what have you found?
It doesn't look good. I need to see you.
Meet me at the Blue Room. I work there tonight. I take a break around 9. I'll be waiting at the stage door. We can talk then. Auf Wiedersehen, Mr. Kelso.
Thanks, ma'am.
And so his own boss Curtis, an investor in the Suburban Redevelopment Fund, warns Jack off the case. It's at this moment that Jack ceases to be merely an investigator for California Fire and Life. He now has his own agenda of justice. Back at the Blue Room at 9:04 p.m., Cole walks through the door.
No, I'm guilty.
Okay, to wave at his girlfriend. But heading around back... Cole observes the meeting between Jack and Elsa we just heard Jack arrange on the telephone.
What were you doing with him?
I was doing what you asked.
I didn't ask you to meet him in an alleyway.
Why do you snarl at me? Your friend came to ask me to accept the insurance.
He's not my friend, Elsa.
I think he's a brave man, and you have placed him in great danger. You've involved him in something, and he has no idea of the risk. Can you live with that, Cole?
Elsa, I need his help, and he hates my guts.
Forget the past, Cole. He deserves a chance to say no. If he helps you, let it be on his terms.
I'll go see him in the morning.
And with that, they share a tender kiss. Whoa. Oh, what? Okay.
That broad has socks in it, Brazil.
Well, while Cole and Elsa become familiar in the alleyway, Jack has to struggle through a moral dilemma. He did what he was asked. He told Elsa to accept the money, but it doesn't sit right with him. There was one clue Kelso picked up that he didn't mention to Curtis, he didn't mention to Elsa, and he didn't write down in his notebook. It was a clue he got from the security guard.
The only guys who go in or out are some delivery guys from Elysian Fields. They're working on a housing development over at Wilton and Santa Monica.
Elysian is using this wood to build a new development at Wilton and Santa Monica. And so that's where he goes, to see for himself if Elysian is really using this green wood from a defunct film studio to build houses for GIs. He arrives at 9:07 p.m., but the gate is closed and locked. But in one of the houses, he sees a flickering light. Heading forward ever so carefully, we don't see a car in the driveway, no shadows moving inside. Inside, he pulls out his flashlight. We attempt to flip the switches, but
Nice wiring job, fellas. Keep them in the dark.
were they really going to throw up a house and not wire it with electricity? I suppose we could say that the electrician hasn't gotten there yet, but then why put a non-functioning light switch in a wall? That usually happens after the electrician has wired it. Heading into the kitchen, we can try the sink.
Good thing I'm not thirsty.
Goodness, not only is the place not plumbed, but the fixtures aren't even attached. They installed the sink in the kitchen before they plumbed the place? It's almost as if they never intended anyone to live in these houses. Almost as if they were just trying to put up the shell of a house. Something they could churn and burn. We don't find anything else downstairs, so heading upstairs, we see cans of paint, windows lying out, shutters stacked against a wall, and in the master bedroom,
you lose something, Mac?
I thought these private eye types were all wise guys with smart mouths.
Looks like the snappy repartee has all dried up.
Get on with it.
What's your hurry, Mac? You got some place to go?
You ever do the cat and mouse routine without a gun in your hand?
Now that's more like it.
one down, but two more to go. And while we're fighting the next guy, the first one stands back up. Kelso can stand his ground against one man, but against three?
You're a worn, tough guy. You should learn to take a hint. Get him downstairs and into the trunk. Sure, he turned up all right. He's wishing he didn't. He's in the trunk. He's going nowhere. The boys introduce themselves. What do you want done with him, Mr. Monroe? Yeah, I know a good place. We'll pick up a shovel and a pick on the way. It's up in the hills behind Griffith Park. We'll deal with that German bitch next.
So Leland Monroe himself put together this hit squad for Jack Kelso. And next they're going after Elza. But how did they know that Jack would come here? That's a pretty big bet that Jack would come back in the dead of night to inspect the place after learning what he learned at Keystone Films.
Elsa.
Jack escapes, but the goons discover it before he can run away.
What the hell?
Sorry, pal. Desperate times.
Commandeering a nearby car, we can race away as quickly as possible. Jack has to get to Elsa's apartment before the goons do. But of course this means I gotta drive, and every white picket fence and bush is as hard as concrete. Doggone it.
Monroe owns the city. Owns the cops. I need to find Elsa.
They chase us through the streets of LA for what seems like hours. It's only after hitting a dozen telephone poles and knocking over half a dozen light posts.
Must be his blind spot. Where are they? Is that the last of them?
That we lose them. With the goons off our tail, and a few pedestrians under the wheels, we can make our way carefully
Got a job.
to Elsa's apartment. That's right, Kelso. Make yourself presentable for the lady.
So you're still carrying that Army 45, Cole?
For God's sake, Cole! Call an ambulance!
Kelso staggers in only to discover that Cole is with Elza. He took it like a man, but I imagine that he was disappointed. I got the impression he kind of had a thing for Elza, and Elza was flattered by the attention. Perhaps if Kelso had met her first, things might have turned out differently. But Kelso, as we already know, is a man of honor. He won't put the moves on Elza, even if he does despise Cole. But will he survive that encounter? This is where the case ends, and it's not even resolved. What will Elza and Cole do with Kelso, unconscious on the floor of Elza's apartment? To find out, be sure to tune in to my next episode. I publish new videos each and every week here on my channel, so if you don't want to miss it, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have and you feel like you're still not getting notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter with every new piece of content that I publish. I have a shirt shop with completely unique designs you can't find anywhere else. My designs come in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. They come on other products as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more brand new videos.
Where are they? Is that the last of them? job.